right, I have one slide, so I'm going to push the play button one time, and then this is going in my pocket. Maybe. All right, well, okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh, here we go. Okay. This was my one slide, and this was a pretty accurate representation of me the end of last year at the beginning of this year. I had been working for a traditional finance company for about 2 decades. I started back in '06. I came out of college, and everything was ripping. We had the real estate market booming. Everyone was a real estate developer. Everyone was the smartest person on the planet because you could just borrow money, you could build something, and then the price would go up, and then you would sell it, and you would make a ton of money. Well, as probably most people in this room know, when you have a debt-fueled bubble, eventually it's going to burst. And that's what happened in '08 and '09. And it was at that point that I got asked by the boss at my position at the time, who was asked to head up the workout group, as it's called in commercial lending, managed assets. My personal favorite is SAD, special assets, because that's basically what we were doing. But I got in, and we had no idea what we were doing. This was the first global financial meltdown for a lot of us. We were trying to figure things out as we went. And as we were going, we obviously had the news. We had the Federal Reserve. We had every pundit on TV talking about all of the problems. What are we going to do? How is it going to get solved? And I remember sitting down in the CEO of our company's office, sitting there, and him going, "Man, they're going to force us to take this TARP money." I said, "What do you mean force you to take it?" They go, "Well, we have to take it." I said, "But we're solvent. We don't really need it." And he said, "Yeah, but they're forcing it down our throats." And I said, "Well, where are they getting that money?" And he didn't really have an answer other than, "Well, it's coming from the Federal Reserve." And so that kind of started me questioning the entire system that we were built on. How could a financial system be built on something when there's a problem that we just get a bunch more money from some institution that's a government or quasi-government agency? And that began my questioning. Eventually, I got put into a group where we were handling companies that were failing, so businesses, so not just real estate, not just personal assets, homes, things like that. And for the next 10 years or so, I got a front-hand look at what was happening to companies as they couldn't keep up with inflation. It had been in the family, or the company had been around for 30 years, but they were failing. And they were profitable on paper, but they had to keep taking on ever more and more debt to simply keep up with things. And it was a phenomenon that I didn't really understand at the time, but seeing it made me wonder how a business could be profitable yet falling behind. It was always in the back of my mind what we were taught in good old business schools, that you run a profitable company and that's how you're successful. Well, I was witnessing firsthand that that wasn't happening, and wondering how that could possibly be. And then 2020 came along, and we had the wonderful COVID pandemic that swept the nation, and I had seen this playbook before. They had tried it with bird flu, they had tried it with SARS, they had tried it with MERS, and it was like every 2-3 years they tried to roll out the next pandemic. And so I was very skeptical from the beginning. And it was hard to find people that were skeptical as well. And as I was online, looking around all the favorite social media sites, I noticed a common theme, which was people with laser eyes in their profiles were really against all of the insanity that was going on around me. And I said, well, what do these people know that I don't know? And that really started me on my Bitcoin journey to really go down the rabbit hole and begin to understand the difference between sound money, soft money, all the problems I had seen before in my personal job, that this is why these businesses were failing. It all clicked together. The money from the government, the businesses failing, it all came into focus all at once. We have broken money. We have money that doesn't work. And as I'm sure many of you out here are sitting in a job where the second you see the bright orange light, you become disillusioned with what's going on at your job. And you just sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm on a conference call. I have to listen to these people talk for an hour. I'd rather just listen to a Bitcoin podcast or read a Bitcoin magazine article or something, anything. And you just start to have a complete change of your view of what you're doing. And it's like, man, I don't even necessarily care about this paycheck anymore. What am I doing here? And after coming to Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin, it really completely reset my focus on everything, my family, my faith. And I had drifted away in my personal life, and I was kind of just meaninglessly meandering through life. And it was just, okay, I'm going to work at this desk until I'm 65, and then I'm going to get my 401k, and I'm going to ride off into the sunset, and maybe I'll have a family along the way and do whatever. But I wasn't really grounded in anything. I didn't have any conviction in anything. And after I discovered Bitcoin, I really had that conviction. And it started moving things in my head. Why am I here? What am I actually doing at this job? Why am I positioned here? Am I actually making a difference, or am I just sending out the 8th spreadsheet today and listening to a bunch of people that are higher up in the organization tell me what to do? And that's the reality of what was going on at that time. And as I'm sure many of you, when you first got into Bitcoin, you thought you knew everything about it. Well, I thought I knew everything about it too. I'm going to tell the whole world about it. Everyone needs to hear about Bitcoin. I'm going to save this company I'm working in because I'm going to tell them about Bitcoin. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. Let's promote you to CEO of the company, and everything's going to be great. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not how it works. And it's really hard to gain traction in a big company when you would try to tell them about Bitcoin, especially the world I came from. The traditional finance industry, it turns out telling a bunch of 63-year-old guys that they're wrong about money doesn't go over very well in the banking industry. So I tried my best, but I really didn't have the deep conviction and understanding of Bitcoin that I needed to have when I embarked on that endeavor. And I really regret doing that, and I wish I hadn't started off that way. Eventually, I gained the understanding I did need and was able to get in front of some executives and people in my company again. But I just couldn't get the traction. Excuse me, can't talk. I couldn't get the traction that I wanted, and I realized that okay, I'm not going to be able to sell this internally. Maybe I should start looking for a job in Bitcoin. And I'm sure many people out here are the same way. I just want to go work in Bitcoin. But we all want a paycheck. We want a fiat job in Bitcoin. We need to pay the bills. We need to pay the mortgage. We need to put some money aside for savings. We need to stack sats. And it's hard because you're staring at something going, all right, well, I basically want this setup, but doing something that I'm passionate about, that I care about. And I'm just here to tell you, you're probably not going to find that. And there's very few roles like that out in Bitcoin. It turns out very few people still know about Bitcoin. Even though it's growing, there are not a lot of organizations where they're just looking to bring people on to be an accountant, to be a salesperson. It doesn't really exist out there. And I went through a period of disillusionment. I applied to 20 different places. Why won't they hire me? I'm not getting calls back. And 24 rolled around, and I found a company that was doing consulting for businesses. And I said, wow, that really looks like something that fits with my prior life, and exactly what I want to be doing is helping businesses out. And ultimately ended up talking to them and getting brought on as just an independent contractor of sorts. If business presented itself and there were hours, I could do it. I got approval from my old job to do it. And it was just out there, but I really wasn't dedicated to it. I really didn't fully position myself to take advantage of the opportunity. And doing new things, going into uncertain areas, uncharted waters is a really scary thing. And I'll be the first to admit I'm very conservative. We need to have our financial plan set up. We need to have our life plan set up. When are we doing this? I am the prototypical person for that. And it took me a very long time to get over the hump of I need to dedicate myself to this, and I need to put myself into this full time. Now, I'm not saying do something stupid, walk into your boss's office, tell him to F off, and just walk out and be like, all right, I'm going into Bitcoin. I don't really have a plan. Don't do that. That being said, keep your eyes open, look for opportunities, and it may not be some glaring opportunity like you get a call from the CEO of some Bitcoin company, hey, you want to come work for us? But look at Bitcoiner jobs, come to events like this, network with people, put the proof of work in. Nothing comes fast. You know, I remember when I went down the rabbit hole, I thought, I'm immediately going to get a job in a Bitcoin. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to get a Twitter account. I'm going to have all these people listening to my great thoughts on everything. I still don't even have great thoughts, so that was never going to work out. But take your time, go slow, do what you can along the way, and don't make any rash decisions. But if you see an opportunity for yourself, be willing to say, I'm going to go do something different. I really care about Bitcoin. I really want to go work in Bitcoin. And I can't even begin to tell you how rewarding it's been. As the title says up here, I left a very cushy corporate job. I was doing way less work. I was making way more money. And now all of those things are gone. But I have such a feeling of fulfillment in what I'm doing, actually being able to help businesses adopt Bitcoin. The businesses I saw failing, I now have the opportunity to go put them into a position where I can make sure you don't fail. Well, not make sure, because if you've ever met business owners, some of them are going to fail regardless. But I can put you in a much better position for your financial future. I can put you in a place where you're going to have a chance to survive. You will be able to beat the monetary debasement, because that is the number one thing businesses are fighting today is monetary debasement, and 99% of them don't know it. And the ability to go in to explain this to companies, to talk to them, to talk to boardrooms, and give them this information to get them on the life raft. I mean, we've all seen the meme where Noah's Ark is, got the Bitcoin logo over it with the waters raging. And that is the value you get from going to work in Bitcoin, whether it's as a developer, whether it's as an educator, whether it's someone building better financial tools around it. It all grows the ecosystem. It all makes the life raft bigger, and then ultimately the platform to get on the life raft bigger as well. And I would just encourage anyone out here today who is thinking about making this switch to go ahead and do it. And as I said, don't be rash about it. Don't be foolish about it. Don't promise your wife the world and then look up and, oh, we can't write the utility check next month. That's not going to end well. So use some discretion, be smart about it, but the bright orange future ahead, if you choose to do this, if you choose to go forward with this, you're going to have so many more opportunities that you didn't even have. I left my job 3 months ago, and somehow I'm on this stage talking to you guys, and I hope people here find value out of it. Even if only a few of you find some value out of it or are inspired by it, that I would love to hear that. That is rewarding to me. And having that be your measure of success as you go through life, as opposed to your next paycheck, your next bonus. I was talking backstage. The number of times I went, well, I'll just get to the next bonus. Well, I'll just get to the next bonus. I'm going to eat shit again to get to the next bonus. And I'm going to sacrifice my autonomy. I'm going to sacrifice my thoughts, my ideas. When I know they're good thoughts, when I know they're good ideas, I'm going to give that all up because I want the next payday. And I would encourage everyone out there to look deep inside. If this is something you are really passionate about, take the next step, get out there and find a network, find a community, and start working yourself into it to give yourself an opportunity to come work in this wonderful world of Bitcoin. Thank you.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.